Unit 9 is functions, and this unit's going to be kind of a mix of just different things we can do with functions, with the algebra of it, and with graphing them. So lesson 9.1 is called evaluating functions, and when you're evaluating something, that means you're trying to get an answer. You're trying to get an actual number as your answer, and a function is just something that can be graphed that passes the vertical line test. So it's some kind of equation, and that's when we can plug in an input and get out an output, which is an ordered pair. So we have this function, it's called h of x, is how you say that, equals negative 5x minus 4, find h of 3. So any number in parentheses is really the x. So they're wanting us basically to figure out if x is 3, what is the y value when x is 3? And so it's okay, h of 3 is going to equal negative 5 times 3 minus 4. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Negative 15 minus 4 more would be negative 19. And that's all you have to do. Number 2, that was linear because we just have x to the first power. Number 2 is f of x, and it is a quadratic because it's squared. I wanted to make sure we remember what to do when we have a negative in front of our number being squared. And they want us to plug in x is negative 5. So f of negative 5 would equal negative, that's really like a negative 1, times my x value squared, plus 9 times negative 5 minus 17. You could put that on your calculator or you could do it by hand. But what's happening here is you're squaring first, which gets a positive, and then times a negative. So that would be 25 times negative 1 is negative 25. 9 times negative 5 is negative 45. Minus 17, and then you would just go straight across, which would get negative 87 for our output. And so if you want to do that exponent on a calculator, you would put negative parentheses negative 5 squared, and that tells me it's negative 25. All right, then they get a little harder just because the functions become more unique. Number 3 says, given function f of x equals, this is called an exponential function when we have x as the power, but saying 6 to the 7 minus our x value power plus 1. What is the value of f of 2? We might have to round on this one. So I'm going to plug in 2 for x, so it'd be 6 to the 7 minus 2 power plus 1. 7 minus 2 you would do first, so that's really 6 to the 5th power plus 1. This is 6 times itself 5 times. I have no idea what that is. It's not 30. It's going to be way bigger than that. So remember, you push the little up arrow to get your power. And so that's 7,776 plus 1. So that's 7,777. All right, number 4, our function is called a rational function. Actually, it's a radical because it's got a square root in it. It's negative 9 divided by 8 times the square root of x. What is the value of f of 5 to the nearest thousandth if necessary? And so what f of 5 is negative 9 over 8 times the square root of 5. You should know that's not a perfect square and it's not going to simplify. So I will just do it all on my calculator. I have negative 9 divided by, I'm going to put parentheses so that I can put this all together, 8 square root of 5. So that's really taking 8 times the square root of 5 here, and then taking negative 9 divided by that value. And so I get that decimal. Nearest thousandth, here's a quick review of rounding. Think of 1,000. It has 3 zeros in it, so the nearest thousandth, I should have 3 digits after the decimal. So this would be negative, and I can put 0 first, 0.50 is either going to be 3 or round up to 4. Well, the digit after it's just a 1. Unless it's a 5 or higher, it's going to stay the same number. So 5 or higher makes a number round up. Number 5. We've got another exponential function. What is the value of f of negative 1? So that would be 2 to the negative first power squared minus 2 minus 10. So my job is to figure out what this power is. Negative 1 squared is actually just 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. I'm hoping you remember from the beginning of the year that negative powers don't mean they're a negative value. It means that it's the reciprocal, it flips it or drops it to the bottom. So this is really a 1 over 2 to the first power, or 1/2 minus 10. So if I had 0.5 minus 10, that would be negative 9.5. You could also do it on your calculator. 2 to the negative first power is 0.5 for that 1/2 minus 10. Number 6, we have another quadratic. Given the function, find the value of negative 4/7. So we're just putting in a fraction for our x value. So it's 1 minus 3/8 times negative 4/7 squared. So we first have to figure out what is negative 4/7 squared. I'm going to do it by hand first. When you square a fraction, it's that times itself, and we multiply straight across. So it's like a 4 times 4 over a 7 times 7, or 4 squared over 7 squared, 16/49. Then when we multiply fractions, I can cross simplify, so I can divide out an 8, and then multiply straight across, which would be 1 minus 3 times 2 is 6/49. And then I need to have a common denominator. 1 whole would be the same thing as 49/49 minus 6/49. 49 minus 6 would be 43/49. Okay, if you didn't want to do that, I could put it in from the very get-go. I would do 1 minus 3/8. Make sure you have parentheses. And then I'll just do another parentheses. Negative 4 divided by 7, close parentheses, squared. Enter. Remember, go math. Enter, enter to turn it into a fraction, and I get 43/49. And then the last one, this is the opposite of what we've been doing. We have this function h of x, but it says solve for x when h of x is negative 2. So this is not giving us an input, it's giving us the output. And the output in all these problems is really y. Y is negative 2. What is x? So I'm going to replace h of x with negative 2 here. So negative 2 is equal to negative 3x minus 5. Solve for x. Add 5. That would be 3. Divide by negative 3. So x would be negative 1. And that's how we evaluate functions in what's called function notation.